Hey everyone, I'm the Canadian lad and I just finished watching Avengers Age of Ultron in 0.25x speed and found a bunch of new details. But before we begin, let me give you a reminder that this video isn't only about Easter eggs. I'm gonna emphasize on attention to details and hopefully by the end you will love this movie even more. So without any further ado, let's begin. Number 1. At the beginning of the film, where the Avengers were trying to retrieve the scepter, Captain America asks Jarvis what's the view from upstairs. When Jarvis starts talking, we get a glimpse at Tony Stark's own satellite system. But when we zoom in and turn the screen upside down, look what it says. It says Veronica, which Tony Stark later deploys to help bring Hulk under control. Number 2. Just before Iron Man in the Hulkbuster armor begins to push Hulk through the under construction building, he fires 4 rockets to compromise the structure of the building in such a way that it will collapse on itself, instead of falling sideways that might cause extreme casualties. In slow motion, you can see how the rockets are attacking the building from sideways in order to make sure it's safe collapse. Number 3. During the scene when Ultron was trying to escape with the cradle, Black Widow managed to take control and sends the cradle to the Quinjet. But in slow motion, you can see how Hawkeye was flying it backwards instead of flying forward. Now jets are not supposed to be flying backwards, but this one certainly can, and in 0.25x speed, it really gets easier to notice. Number 4. In the final battle, Wanda pulls Ultron Prime's hurt out in retaliation for her brother's death. Ultron's torn chest carries the exact same pattern with Cap's broken shield from Tony's vision. Number 5. When Tony Stark proposes the idea of creating Ultron to Bruce Banner for the first time, Hulk's stretchy pants can be seen hanging in the laboratory, implying that they both developed them together in the lab. Hulk is later seen wearing the same stretchy pants when Wanda played with his head and turned him super angry. Number 6. At the end of the film, where the Trinity of the Marvel Universe walks around poking fun at Thor for elevators not being worthy, Chris Evans aka Captain America slightly shifts his body to move out of the way of the camera as he walks by. Here's how it looks in regular speed.
Last few years, it's not a coincidence.
Number 7. During Thor's vision, he shoots some people with his lightning and they're seen turning to dust. This is heavily foreshadowing how Thor's inaction will cause half of all life in the universe to turn to dust. After all, he was the only one who could have stopped it all, but didn't. I have a separate video on this, make sure to watch that as well. Number 8. When Tony Stark enters Hawkeye's barn to fix a tractor, he casually says hello dear while approaching the tractor. But if I slow it down and zoom in, you can see it's a John Deere tractor. And Tony sees what it's called, and that's why he calls it as a deer and not as in deer. Number 9. At the end of the film, when Laura Barton sends a video message to Black Widow, there we see for a brief moment Hawkeye's newborn son has the middle name Pietro, honoring his savior Quicksilver. Number 10. When Tony was fighting the Hulk in the Hulkbuster armor, one of the things he tries to do is gas him. If I slow down the speed, you can see Tony's helmet display says sedation on the right hand side of our screen. Moments after that, it flashes the word activated beneath the word sedation, and Tony starts spraying gas in Hulk's face. We've seen how Marvel put a lot of efforts behind Tony's helmet display in Avengers 1, and this movie was no different as well. Number 11. When Thor goes back to the Water of Sight in order to return to his dream that he was shown by Wanda Maximoff, in that dream Thor sees 4 Infinity Stones coming together. But notice all the Infinity Stones are held together by a gauntlet that looks really similar to Thanos' Infinity Gauntlet, foreshadowing his arrival and how he will use them. Number 12. After Ultron erased everything from the Avengers database, they had to go through S.H.I.E.L.D.'s paper files to find Ultron, and in one of the dossier on Ulysses Klaue, you can see that it mentions Klaue's great-grandfather having been killed by a previous Black Panther for trying to annex Wakanda. It was indeed T'Chaka, father of T'Challa, who killed Klaue's great-grandfather. Number 13. When Tony is looking through his user interfaces to replace Jarvis, one of the chips in the background says Jocasta. In the comics, Jocasta is the wife of Ultron. Now you may wonder, why would Ultron have a wife in the comics even though he himself wanted to cause extinction of human lives? He wanted a wife because he's still human enough to crave companionship. The movie addresses this when Ultron takes Black Widow hostage in his workshop and tells her about how lonely he is.
I wasn't sure you'd wake up. I hoped you would. I wanted to show you. I don't have anyone else.
Ultron also has human-like instinct because he says for God's sake when Hulk throws him out of the Quinjet.
Oh, for God's sake!
In the comics, Ultron forced Hank Pym to create Jocasta so he could have a queen to rule beside him, but she ended up resenting him and teamed up with the Avengers to beat him. Number 14. In the final battle, Wanda took it on herself to protect the core from Ultron and his robots.
What about the core?
I'll protect it.
It's my job. I can handle these.
And if you look closely, the robot that triggers Sokovia to fall at the end was still alive and moving, but it was unnoticed by Wanda and Quicksilver. Age of Ultron is the only movie in the MCU that has foreshadowed most of the events of Infinity War and Endgame. Here I'm gonna tell you how Age of Ultron played an inevitable part in shaping the future of MCU. Number 1. Referring to Hawkeye, Black Widow says, pretending to need this guy really brings the team together.
Pretending to need this guy really brings the team together.
There's no possibility of deterioration.
In Civil War and Infinity War, they didn't pretend to need Hawkeye, and the team never came together. Number 2. Age of Ultron was the only movie that talked about the Avengers losing in the long run.
That up there, that's the end game. How are you guys planning on beating that? Together. We'll lose, and we'll do that together too.
They did lose, as did half the universe. Number 3. Heimdall tells Thor that they are all dead and that he is a destroyer.
We are all dead. Can you not see it? You're a destroyer, Odinson.
Later, Thor sets off Ragnarok, causing the destruction of Asgard, and in Infinity War, half of all life are dead because of his mistake. Also note that Heimdall refers to Thor as the first son of Odin, not Odin's firstborn, who is later revealed to be Hela in Ragnarok. Number 4. Dr. Cho, showing what her technology can achieve, says this is the next thing, Tony. Your clunky metal suits will be left in the dust. Stark replies, that is exactly the plan.
This is the next thing, Tony. Your clunky metal suits are going to be left in the dust.
Well, that is exactly the plan.
And in Infinity War, Tony Stark indeed upgrades all his suit to nanotech. Number 5. Ultron talks about how people create the things they dread.
Everyone creates the thing they dread. Men of peace create engines of war.
Later, with Helen Cho, he starts the creation of the Vision, who eventually shuts him off the internet and kills him. So not only humans, but Ultron as well created the thing he dreaded. Number 6. When Steve Rogers gives his speech to all the other Avengers, he says if you get hurt, hurt him back, and if you get killed, walk it off. When he says if you get killed, the camera pans out on Quicksilver, who eventually gets killed.
You get hurt, hurt him back. You get killed, walk it off.
And that's all I have from this movie, and I have to admit, even with all the weirdness, this movie was a little bit ahead of its time. We as an audience just couldn't comprehend the value of this movie until Infinity War and Endgame got released. But after the events of Endgame and the way it all unfolded, Age of Ultron really seemed like a better movie than we thought it was. Without the seeds being planted in Age of Ultron, I don't think Marvel could have achieved what they have accomplished with Infinity War and Endgame. Age of Ultron pretty much dictated which way Marvel will move forward, and I think it has done an incredible job. So I hope you liked this video, and if you did, give me a thumbs up and don't forget to grab the subscribe button and follow me on Instagram as well. I'll see you lads in the next one.